Today we're going to be looking at Darkest Hour 115. I've got to admit, this isn't a bad issue. It's starting to ramp up to one of probably the biggest events in the Power Ranger comic book lore right now, and there are some things that I will talk about that I kind of thought was going to happen, and I'll kind of talk about this. I generally do like this. I have been keeping up with the story, but yeah, this is me reviewing it because why not? Story carries on as Rita has kidnapped Tommy, and she's kind of like trying to get him to join his side once again. First of all, I really like the fact that they've got Master Vile's ship, so it's kind of really cool to kind of see that, as well as like the entire armada from, I don't think it is from Power Rangers itself. I generally think it's just kind of something that they've put in themselves. But all the way through this entire story, or this part of the arc, is the fact that Rita is trying to get Tommy to join her again. And there are things that I watched in Ash's video, which I highly recommend go check out his video. He's been covering the comics a lot longer than I have, so I will talk about that in a minute. But first of all, I really like the fact that there's a Zeo crystal embedded in her staff. I never noticed that originally, and I feel like this is a fantastic add-on to kind of like show it. It's really unique and kind of cool. I generally thought the Zeo crystal would have stayed with Dark Spectre and stuff. I wouldn't have thought that Rita would have it in her staff, but it kind of gives an extra bit of power when she's corrupting the Rangers. Now, all the way through this, Rita is saying, like, you know, she created the Green Ranger, she created Tommy, she made him a Power Ranger, and it's more saying like, hey, like, you should join me, you should be on my side, you shouldn't be anything with like the rest, so why don't you do it? Serve me one last time. And Tommy said, no, Zordon saved me, you did nothing, like, you know, whatsoever. And that Tommy has had nightmares. He's not been able to move on at the very beginning, and I didn't realize at first that this was a throwback to the very beginning, where we saw Rita, you know, in Tommy's mind, you know, being there saying like, hey, the Rangers think that you're going to turn on them at any moment. And I kind of like this thing where she's trying to get into his head. You know, she tried to carry on, even though I can't really remember because it's been such a long time, but I don't know if this was like something extra that was going through, or if this was Tommy remembering those days. But, you know, Tommy's like, no, I don't want anything to do with you. And Ash brought up a really, really good kind of point that I never really thought of. And the fact is that there is abuse. Tommy went through all the abuse, and he was able to move past it, to kind of get over it and come to terms with certain things, where Rita hasn't. Rita has jumped from person to person all the time, and she wants to please whoever because she has these issues herself. I really like the fact that Tommy brings this up, which makes this kind of a thing saying, hey, I know exactly what you're like, so this is something that's going on. And I don't think she can like take it. Now, I do have a theory on this later on, but yeah, like, because of all this, Rita just leaves Tommy and says, hey, you're gonna rot in here. But we know that Tommy isn't. Tommy's gonna probably like break out at any point. This part here was actually kind of interesting because you never really see the Rangers strategize. It's, hey, let's go and defeat the monster, and this doesn't feel like there's a monster of the week. It feels like there is a lot more to it, that this is a long-winded plan, like, hey, this is a big bad. Effectively, this could be a film in theory. But I really like the artwork. For some strange reason, like, I don't really like Kimberly that much in the main universe, but comic book Kimberly, god damn, she looks amazing in pretty much everything in this particular issue. So I'm wondering if it's going to kind of carry on. But we have Matt explaining what they kind of want to do. We have all the other Rangers in different poses saying like, eh, but it's effectively nice to see that, you know, we have one or two people unmorphed. Billy isn't morphed, and I kind of, one thing I want, I'll explain this at the very end, but Matt has anxiety problems and he needs time to kind of like escape, because he has these, you know, these feelings, these thoughts of what's been going on. Like, you know, Rita has kind of been in his head, and this is kind of a thing that's going forward. So it's nice to see that there is actually Aisha being with Matt to calm him down, to kind of be there, even though that he runs off, like, so that you can see. I don't know if this is a proven method to kind of get rid of anxiety, but Aisha being there for Matt, you know, I love this kind of story where they are getting together, or they are together, and that she wants to be there for him. This, I think, is absolutely fantastic, and it shows that the team is is there, and obviously they want to help and support. And I'm guessing that even if they weren't together, she would help him out like this. I like the fact that Aisha is like, nah, if you shouldn't go on this mission, but Matt really wants to help. Meanwhile, we find out that there is a way to get into the bad guy's base. I can't remember what the name is. Please let me know down below in the comments. And everyone is kind of talking like, hey, we need help. We need a distraction. How do we get into the base? And Zordon's like, oh, well, I think I have an idea right here. Can you imagine if that's how Zordon always spoke? Zordon knows that there is one ranger out there that could possibly help him that is pretty powerful, and we know that as Lord Zed. Lord Zed's on the moon, which again is a nice place, but again, it's like the only place that he knows that he can go. Like, I generally thought he may have other bases, but no. I think that Lord Zed is scared to go against Rita at the moment, even though the Lord Zed is powerful. The power of Dark Spectre, and the fact is that he has multiple rangers at his disposal. To me, that would scare anyone, and Lord Zed is either thinking or he's just going to stay on the moon, because I don't think Rita is going to come back, even though Goldar's like, look, we need to go for safe haven. We need to attack right now. Now is the right moment. And it feels like Goldar is being more of the general as than normal. It feels like he's the one that's saying, like, we should attack rather than, just sitting up here and waiting. A beacon arrives on the moon, but again, everyone thinks it's a bomb. Goldar's like, oh, I'm going to protect you. But, even like this, like, Lord Zed is saying, like, back away, don't get hurt, don't move away, get away. But it's a beacon, and the beacon reveals that Zordon is asking for help. They know that Lord Zed has the Zord, even though he's like, oh, it's my Zord, but obviously it got pimped out a lot earlier. And I generally was like, oh, maybe it has that power issue, but nope. It's because the people over at Promethea like shut down the entire thing, so it can't move. Even if Lord Zed gave it enough power, it's just literally going to stay there. So Zordon's like, hey, you can keep your Zord, just help us. That's all we want right now. You help us, you get this goddamn powerful Zord that you can do with whatever you want. Now, because obviously Promethea shut it down, if Lord Zed turned against them with the Zord, could they just shut it down? Or is it like, no, that is yours to keep? So I'm very kind of interested to see how that would work, but it feels like Lord Zed is there to be their friend or at least ally now, rather than I'm going to try to kill you as he normally has done in the past. We now look at Jason's room with him and Kimberly, and they're talking. And the first couple of panels to me looked like they were together. It felt like this could be a much later on thing where, maybe she stops dating Tommy, maybe she gives up her powers later on. That's something that Ash mentioned. But if she gives up her powers, maybe she gets with Jason and they go off and do stuff, which then would remind me of Turbo. But in the first kind of two panels, it does look like she's there as a girlfriend to him, and it's kind of cool. I really want that to kind of happen, because I think it would just be fun to see. But yeah, I generally think this is a really nice part where Jason's saying like, hey, I'm not a ranger anymore, I can't keep up. But Kimberly is in doubt, and she says like, oh, I don't know what it means to be a ranger. What does it mean? The fact is that you've got Draken, Kaya, Lord Zed, they're all rangers. So what is it to be a power ranger? You get these powers and you're meant to do good, but these evil people are rangers now? In these kind of moments right now, like even when Kimberly's crying and Jason's being there as a friend, it just feels like there could be something a little bit more. But Kim says like, look, we're going off into battle. If we fail, you're the only one that's going to be here, so you need to kind of be a ranger and promise me that you'll stay here. And Jason's like, yeah, I promise I'll be a ranger and I'll help as much as I can. I think this would be really cool if he got a different set of powers later on, so he becomes a unique ranger rather than an Omega Ranger. I think that it's like, hey, you were once a ranger, always a ranger, but you will stay a ranger. Now, I feel like this is very interesting because when we see Power Rangers in general, we don't know what happens when they turn evil. I felt this was a really interesting way to kind of give that explanation to, which didn't need it to be long-winded. You've got one page that kind of just talks about everything. Now, I really don't like the way the suits are. I think the suits fine, like the body, but the helmets, I think that would have been been really cool as if they were the same as what they were normally, but maybe with a tweak. The red eyes, I'm not really a big fan of it. It does remind me of Zenkaija when you had the copy world and stuff like that. But the gist of this entire page is saying that once they're evil, like their personalities get locked down and they basically do what they're told, So it kind of makes me kind of think of like, how far could you go? Like, it's just an interesting, if they demorph, then they would return to normal. But as they are morphed, as they are staying like this, they will obviously serve Dark Spectre. So a generally really nice touch to kind of explain it rather than be like, oh, how does it happen? Oh, there's a simple explanation for that. The Death Ranger has always been a very interesting character. It's something a little bit different. It's beyond the grid, effectively, how I kind of imagine it. When Dark Spectre is just kicking the crap out and saying, hey, like, you disrespected me, you went against what I said, I told you to do this, I gave you your powers, I did this, and it says in the panel, I gave you power, I gave you victory over death itself, and in return, I only asked for one thing, obedience, servitude. You went to Earth behind my back. It's interesting to see how the Death Ranger is like, oh yeah, okay, I'm just going to roll over and take it. But I think what's interesting is the panel of Rita herself when she's looking. It's not that she's smiling, it's not that she's sad, it feels like she's up to something, and I think in the next kind of panel I'll explain why. Just before Dark Spectre is about to kill the Death Ranger, Rita steps in and says, like, allow me to do this, allow me to finish the job for you. And Dark Spectre's like, hell no, like, I am angry, you dare stop me from when I'm about to kill him, about to have my revenge, what are you doing? And in the panel here, it's where it's just like, all right, cool, I give up, you do what you want to do, Rita. And she lets out this massive explosion, like causing him pain. Now, I think what's happening here is the fact that she's teleporting him somewhere else, that the Death Ranger feels the pain but teleported somewhere else, or it could be like a psychological thing. You see the energy ripping you apart, you're like, ah, and it's like, oh wait, where am I? I feel like in the next issue you'll have Rita come to them and say, I saved you from Dark Spectre, you now serve me, you will go and do this, and you will help me take over because I want his power, I want to be where he is, I want to be the ruler of the universe, do what I say, and I will not kill you or say that you got out or whatever. And I feel like that would be a huge big thing if they did that, and I think that would be really kind of cool to see. In the next couple of pages we have Hyperforce and Lord Zed absolutely attacking everything to kind of draw out Rita to say, hey, come out, come fight. And we just see loads of the putties kind of running away. Everyone has gotten under safe haven right now, and any element of surprise has gone, which I think is kind of an interesting thing. I feel like you could have had the Rangers go in first, get what they needed to, and then if anything happened, then bring in Lord Zed and Hyperforce. And Kendall does bring up that really good point and saying, like, we attacked way too early. And I feel like, yeah, you could have had the Rangers get in. If there was any problems, have them come in to attack to then be like, oh shit, this is the main thing, which would have helped quite well. Now, I forgot about XI as well as Alpha 1. I do remember reading the fact that the Rangers went against Alpha 1, but it's interesting to see how he's kind of merged kind of attack. Now, I do think as soon as like Alpha 1 is attacking, XI will go in and go, no, I'm going to overwrite this for a little bit. So if there's going to be any death blow, or the fact is he might just turn willy-nilly, who knows? But I feel like that's going to be a big thing because obviously XI was their friend. So I don't think he's going to go down quite so easily. So I feel like this is going to be kind of a planned thing, or XI will overwrite Alpha 1's like memories and programming and then turn on the bad guy straight away. Kind of cool. Now, what I do like is the fact that you've got all the Rangers at the bottom. They're kind of waiting, they're ready to attack, and I do feel like there should be more waiting for them. Like, it feels like if you're going to take over the entire morphing grid, you would have more Rangers coming towards you than you would do, say, like just just Wild Force, Dino Charge, and 2 members of Mighty Morphing. It just feels like you would have more. But I'm hoping that's going to be a huge, massive battle, half and half. I think that would be really cool if they did that. Aisha is shocked when she sees Adam and Rocky, and then a massive fight happens, which is a cool thing to do. Outside the base, you have the putties overtaking the Hyperforce Megazord as well as Serpentera. So they just kind of blast away off into space, which I'm guessing if they do, the putties then would turn into ice and just therefore come off the Megazord and stuff like that. So kind of like it. It's nice to see. Rangers against Rangers, I always like seeing this. Like Evil Rangers, absolutely fantastic. Even if it's good versus good, I generally like it. I think it's kind of cool. But the main thing is like Kimberly gets attacked at the bottom. And Mistress Vile is there with Dark Spectre attacking, and I think this is Skull in the Red Ranger outfit. If I'm wrong, let me know down below. But he gets attacked as well, causing Kimberly to demorph, and I think this is when Kimberly will either be turned evil, and that's when obviously Mistress Vile will kind of step in. It'd be interesting because I really want to see Kimberly being taken over and then go and attack her friends. I like that kind of, hey, I'm a good person, now I've been turned. I generally really like it. But I'm just really confused on what Draken's doing. Now, Draken obviously doesn't give a shit. So why is he leaving his team as well? From the issue where he gets all these people together to form his own Rangers, it just feels like, where is he going? As Ash says, is he going to go and get more help from other people? Or is he just bailing like he normally does? There's so many kind of questions around about this. And the fact is that Draken is leaving his team as well. Like, why would you leave his team? Because they'll all just turn on him later on. But he opens up the gate, kind of walks through. And this is the one thing that I was like, oh darn, this is the reason why I'm excited to get the issue, but I also wanted to do the review, and that is Ranger Slayer. Now, if you took away the red eyes, her outfit would look menacing. It would look absolutely fantastic in my eye. And she jumps into the portal after him, so I'm wondering what this will do. Is she going to go against Draken? Is she going to attack him? What's going on? To me, this is something that is really cool, and it makes me want the next issue right away. And as Ash points out, you have the kind of one-shot that's coming up that has Ranger Slayer in this, and I'm wondering if this is also going to lead into it as well. I just like this. I really, really do, because I like Ranger Slayer. And she's one of my favorite Rangers. So seeing this is fantastic. Seeing all like the story kind of come together. Now, I don't know how long this story is going to go. I don't know if it's going to go for a lot longer. We have an entire year. I think we're still kind of early on in the run of this. So for me personally, I cannot wait for more of the story. I want this to last for a lot longer because I feel like we're just at the tip of the iceberg. I feel like this is something kind of cool. I really like this. I really want to read more. And this is one of the downsides to the comics, is that you have to wait like a month for the next one. So yeah, I am going to leave that. What are your thoughts on this? What do you think about this issue? Let me know down below in the comments. What do you think about the Evil Rangers design? Are you happy with them? Are you not? Let me know down below in the comments. I am going to leave it there. Thank you very much for listening and watching. I really appreciate you being here. So yeah, I'm just going to end the video. Thank you very much. I want to say a big thank you to all my Patreon supporters, and I wanted to shout out Kimona Cat, Kira Stanada, Micah Baldwin. Your help goes a long way to help support the channel, and if you want to help support the channel, the links to my Patreon and channel memberships are listed below in the description.
あらあら、チャンネルをサポートしてくれてありがとうございます。チャンネル登録、高評価お願いします。以下のリンクから商品を入手することができます。